many of you here are still working on that toxicity handout?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
A few of you? Awesome. Well,
Hi, guys. We've got a chair here. Come on in. We've got one over here and one here. They don't bite. No, I'll sneeze. Come on in over here.
They do.
She does, yeah. She does.
it's debatable.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like,
All right. Yeah, a couple more chairs. We got one. Is this chair taken?
No. She was here and I just moved it.
Oh. We've got one here and we've got one here. Come on. One here, one here.
there's one here at the front between the boys.
Yeah, if you're not afraid of Dr. Jean-Guy, those guys are brave.
Ward's been here many times. He can testify. I don't bite.
Still alive.
Chuck, nice shirt.
Speak loud.
How many of you here has ever been to one of our classes before? Many of you. How many of you have done a detox before? Many of you. Right? You hate them? Is that what you said?
Yes. I do.
Awesome.
What do you hate about it?
Everything.
Well, if you think this is bad. On this though, it's good. You never go hungry. You can have unlimited certain veggies.
A whoopee.
Okay, we have 2 minutes of grace. We're almost there. Take a deep breath in. Soon we're going to be doing jumping jacks.
Not in this room.
And push-ups, of course, in this room. Everybody against the wall. Whatever needs to be done. So how many of you here did the questionnaire? Many of you. How many of you think you need a detox? How many of you have been to 27 parties in the past month? You definitely need a detox. So the purpose of this detox questionnaire was more for you than for me. You don't have to share it with anybody. But all of those questions has at some level to do with the body being toxic or the ability of the body with the inability of the body to detoxify the way it should. So if you're not done, you can finish that later and spend a little bit of time answering the question. Ward here needs another hour. Just answer yes to all of them, Ward. Just answer yes to all of them. How many of you here remember who Toby Keith was, the country singer? How many of you? Lots of you, right? My favorite song is like, "Don't Let the Old Men In." They're looking at me. I was reading a few weeks ago, it says that they had an article in the Four magazine that says that when Toby Keith passed away, he was worth $400 million. And to any standard, I would say that, that's considered to be, a lot of money. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
So how many of you here, would like, number one, would like to trade places with him?
No.
I mean, if you were paying attention to what I just said, you probably would not raise your hand right now, right? Would that be fair to say that if you don't have your health, right, the ability to provide for yourself or your family would be affected? Would that be fair to say that?
Yeah.
In the next 10, 15 years, whatever goals or dreams that you have, either for yourself or your family, the people you love, right, if you don't have your health, you think it's going to be easier or harder to make this happen? Right, obviously. Obviously. Can you say obviously? Obviously. That's going to be harder. Yes. And I always tell people that's the reason why we're here. And I always tell people that same thing over and over again. Right? I tell people, I'm like, listen, your health is truly your wealth, in case you did not know. So in the next 40 minutes or so, hopefully this is loud. Bill, is this loud enough? Can you hear me? In the next 40 minutes or so, right, we're going to talk about detoxification. Hopefully I'm going to answer your question before you ask me the question. And then you'll have the opportunity that if you're ready, then to do something about it. And then you're also going to have the opportunity to ask me some questions. And then if I don't know the answer, I'll say I don't know. Are you guys okay with that?
Yes.
Many of you here I haven't seen or I haven't seen in a long time. Some of you I've never seen before. And you might be like wondering, I'm standing here and we're like, who are you? What are you doing here? Right? And I like to share with you my story because after I share my story, you're going to understand a little bit better why I have a little bit of a passion for what I do. And then it will make more sense to you. In case you don't know that, I was born and raised in Montreal, Canada. And when my parents married, I grew up on a farm. When my mom and my dad married, my mother was 17 years old. My father was 22. And at the time, my mom did not know that my father had a problem with his blood sugar. And shortly after they married, she found him on the ground. She thought he was dead. So she rushed him to the hospital. By the time they got to the hospital, my father was in a deep coma. And then what happened is 48 hours later, he came out of the hospital, and she didn't know what was going on with him, but found out that my father was diagnosed with diabetes. And they told him that moment in time at the age of 22 years old that he's going to have to give himself a shot of insulin, and he's going to do that every morning at 6 a.m. And that's what my dad did from age 22. And then he did that for 8 years. Every morning at 6 a.m. would give himself a shot of insulin. And then what happens in the afternoon when his blood sugar would start dropping down, he would start eating cake, cookies, skinnies, and ice cream just so he wouldn't pass out. Right? And my dad did that for 8 years. My father was also a smoker. He smoked 4 packs a day. And if you've never smoked, basically to wake up in the morning with a cigarette in his mouth, be smoking all day, and then until he hit the pillow at night. Right? Did that every day. And by the time he was 30 years old, my father developed this condition called peripheral neuropathy. And if you don't know what that is, some of you might have it right now, is you start you lose the feeling in your legs, and then your balance is not really good, right? Usually it happens when you're 50, 60, 70 years old. But my dad was 30 years old, and at the age of 30, you could literally take a knife, and you could just jab him in his legs, and he would start bleeding. He did not even know what was happening to him, right? He's 30 years old. In less than 5 years, my dad was 3/4 blind. And the reason for that is because when you don't monitor your blood sugar properly, the next thing that's going to happen, your optic nerve's going to die. That's exactly what happened to my dad. And at the age of 35, he's 3/4 blind. And I remember that vividly and clearly because he would come into the bedroom, and at that time was about 5 years old, and he would say, son, it's 4:30 a.m. in the morning, and he would say, son, it's time to get up. And I would be like, what for? Right? It's 4:30. So then what happened is he would say to me, he's like, listen, son, we're going to go out there, and we need to, you're going to be driving the tractor. I'm going to tell you where to go because I can't see, right? Once in a while, we'd go spray the crop, and that's what we did. And by the time, a year goes by, 12 months goes by the time he was 36 years old, my dad was completely blind. And then at that time, what happened is he got depressed because he couldn't work anymore, so he lost 40 pounds really quickly. And then losing those 40 pounds, then he couldn't do anything, so then he was confined to the house. And by the time it happens is my dad would spend about 20 hours a day in bed. And then he would be rolling from one side to the other, and he was really skinny. So what happened is he started to develop bed sores. Some of you might know what that is, but from the side of his, on his right hip there, you could see that he had you could see that, when the skin doesn't heal properly, you start seeing this bruising kind of. And what happened is within 6 months, the bruise was like this big around, and you could literally see every single layer of the flesh all the way down to the bone. Right? And the doctor would come in once a month, once a week, and he would go right into his bedroom. And by the time he got into this bedroom, us 5 kids would go right around the bed. And we were there to watch to see what the doctor would do. And then the doctor would take this piece of tape off and the gauze off. And when he would take that gauze off of his hip there, you could see all this stringy stuff was yellow because it was infected. Right? And the doctor would clean that up and then put some new ointment there. And then he put another piece of tape until the next visit. And week in and week out, that's what he did. And then what happened is by the time he was 40 years old, this was July 12, 1982, he was 40 years old on that day, right? And basically what happened is at that time, he comes into the living room for about, a couple hours a day. Then he goes back into the bedroom 20 hours a day. And that's all he did. In a matter of 3 months, by the time September rolled around, one day he wasn't doing well. So my mother called the ambulance. And when the ambulance came in with the paramedic comes right up the stairs with a stretcher. I got my 2 brothers next to me, my 2 sisters next to me. And they go right into the bedroom. By the time they got in there, right, the paramedic assessed my father. And they're like, listen, we need to take him in. So they looked back at my mother. She's right outside the door. And when they did that, my mom was like, whatever needs to be done. And then what happened is, those guys there, they load him up on the stretcher. They roll him out of the bedroom. And as they're rolling him out, right, there's all 5 of us kids. And I got my 2 brothers that are younger, my 2 sisters that are older, that are right next to me, 9 years old, 8 years old, 7 years old, 12 years old, 13 years older. So my mother was not even I think 35 at that time. And then I looked at my mom and I said, where are they taking Dad? And my mom did not say a word. Right? And then I asked her again, I said, where are they taking him? Crickets. And at a young age, right, I was 9 years old at the time, what I realized is, being a good provider is not the most important thing. There's some of you here tonight, you're sitting right here in front of me, right? And you're like, my job is to just bring money home, to take care of my family. And I would dare to tell you tonight that guess what? If you don't have your health, you can't do that. Just think about that for a minute. Right? So the journey that I'm going to take you through here is I just want you to understand that, what I realize is I've been in this town now for 25 years, been taking care of thousands of people. And what I know for sure is when people lose their health, they don't know how to get it back. And when they have their health, they don't know how to keep it. Or when people think they have their health, they don't know how to keep it. So what I want to share with you here tonight, what I'm about to tell you, because you're sitting here and you're like, I thought I was going to a detox class. Well, it's coming. It's coming. But I want you to understand, right, where I'm coming from with this, that how do I believe that this is important? When I tell people, I'm like, your health is your wealth, truly it is. And some of you here can testify to that. And I will tell you 1,000% of the time, and probably many of you here I've known for a long time, and you can also testify to that, is like, listen, being sick is much more costly than you investing in your health. There's no doubt about it, right? So as we're moving along this journey here, my background, as you probably already know, is I grew up on the farm. So this farm thing is really dear to me. I understand it. I grew up on a farm. I just this is my passion. This farming thing, the soil, the sun, the water, this kind of stuff. And so my background is into this farming stuff. And then after that, I got a degree. I was supposed to be like some kind of trainer early on, at least I thought, right? And then I got a nutrition degree. Then I got a chiropractic degree. Then I started a master's degree, but I never finished that because my wife says you need to go to work now, right? And I'm like, yes, ma'am, right? So that's what I did. So for 25 years, I've been in this, we've been in this town here. And I just want you to know that when I start yelling, I'm not mad at you, right? I just love what I do, and you might get a little bit of a piece of that. So here we are starting. I want you to look at this book. We used to call this class Detoxify or Die. That was a little bit harsh, so I stopped calling it that, right? But this lady there, Sherry Rogers, she wrote a book. It's called Detoxify or Die. If you ever want to read the book, it's a great book. But the bottom line is, by the time you're done, you will understand that, people do need to detoxify. If you're not sure, I'm going to tell you right now that everybody does. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how much you think you're healthy. Everybody needs it. That should be part of the health plan, right? For everybody. And I'll make an attempt to convince you here in the next few minutes. Ready? So here it says their goals to discover the toxins that are lurking in the environment and your food, learn how the body handles the toxin, make a decision if you want to detoxify or not. So we're going to address all of those topics and concerns. I am not here, not yet, right? So here it says, how does your body detoxify? So in 1989, this is like, I'm going to give you some stats here, but I guarantee you when you start digging into this, you'll see all the way up to this year, 24, 23, it is worse. Every single year, it's worse, right? So those numbers there, this is like pretty conservative. 1989, the EPA estimated 1 year, almost 6 billion pounds of chemicals were either dumped into the public sewage or released into the ground, surface, and water, or the air, right? So what do you think those numbers are today? So it says pharmaceuticals, including antibiotic, drugs, just name them, have been found in drinking water supply in 24 to 28 U.S. metropolitan areas tested. So this stuff is into our water. It's everywhere. And most people don't know that. And oftentimes, they try to do the best they can to clean things up, but it's still there. We breathe it, we drink it, right? It's in our food. This next one here, it says, how does your toxin enter your body? Number one, through your lungs, through the skin. I like to touch on this here. I don't want to pick on you ladies, but I will just for a minute. I want you to think that from the time you were a little girl, they told you that, you want to be pretty, you got to put all this stuff on your skin, right? And you do this right from day one, and you've had like decades of that. Decades of that. Just think about all this stuff that people put on their skin, like decades of it. Day in and day out, and you have no idea what you're putting on. It's just like, it just makes you look pretty, right? Which I'm not telling you shouldn't look pretty. I think you're pretty without having that stuff on. But that stuff is truly like, when people have skin problem, they don't really have skin problem. You have an inside problem. Just as a side note, the skin is never the problem. The digestive tract, we'll talk about that a little bit more as we get into the different phase of detoxification. So here it says processed food makes up close to 70% of the U.S. diet. The Americans spend about 10% of their disposable income on fast food. The average American right now, those numbers, 150 pounds of 150 pounds of sugar per year, per person. Now, if a person don't eat sugar, that means the person next to you, right, they eat 300 pounds of it. Think about that for a minute, right? That's the average. It says there's 1 in 3 adults in the U.S. that are obese. I'll give you some stats on that in a minute. It says in the early 2000s, it says 60% of all the middle school and high school sold soft drinks at the vending machine. And the reason why they did that is because they were trying to get those soft drinks out of the school. But the parents, the parents group in the school, they were making money out of it. So they didn't want to take it out, right? So then you have kids, they come in the morning and we're sending our kids to school. Fortunately, they're going to have free breakfast, right? We're going to give them some toast, and we're going to give them some oatmeal, and we're going to give them some orange juice, and we're going to give them some crackers, and we're going to give them some granolas, right? This is like the ultimate recipe for disaster, right? The ultimate recipe for those kids for not paying attention. You follow me? And then they're going to have lunch, and then you're expecting their teacher. Do we have any teacher here? Blessing on all of you. Now you're expecting their teacher to do miracles with them right after they've been eating hot dogs, hamburgers, and pizza. Think about that for a minute. So this next one here, it says portion size. It says then and now, which is pretty amazing, right? It says America is facing an epidemic. The U.S. is the fattest nation in the world. It says 69.2% of the Americans are overweight. It's 75% now. right? The number of people that are obese right now is more than 35%. I'll show you those stats there in a minute, states by states, which is pretty amazing. So this is 1985, and it says how many people are obese. You see this? 1985. You see that those numbers right here? It says 10 to 14%. So most of them are just like there's no color. You see this? You follow me? You're tracking? Check this next one. 1995. So now you have 15 to 19%. Then we get in 2005. Then we have 25, 29, greater than 30%. Now we get in 2010, right? You see the hands right here? It says Michigan. Dr. Jean-Guy's Canadian, but even me, I know that. This is Michigan. Check this out. This is 2000 right? 2023. 40+%. So we have over 75% of our country right now that is considered to be overweight, and more than 35, 40% that is obese. And I would like to challenge you here tonight, because I'm as a health and wellness expert, I always like to try to find out, what's the root cause of people's problem. And I want you to know 100%, there's no doubt about it. You can make up any kind of story that you want, because people do make up a lot of story to rationalize the reason why they have the problems they have. But when people don't have excess weight on their body, it causes, it takes care of a lot of problems. And what that means is if you don't have excess weight on your body, you don't have problems with sugar. If you don't have excess weight on your body, you're not going to have problems with, blood pressure, with heart disease. You're not going to have problems with promoting, fueling the cancer. It's impossible. It's completely impossible, right? If there's no inflammation in your body, you cannot fuel the disease process. Every pound of fat that you have extra on your body, it's 4 pounds on your joints. I want you to let this sink for a minute. Every extra pound of fat that you have on your body is 4 pounds on the joints. Right? So when people have joint problem, we need to have knee replacement and hip replacement and that replacement. Of course we can do it. We have great doctors, we have great science, we have lots of money, but yet, our health sucks. You follow me? Right? Out of 40 industrialized countries, we're ranked number 37. How can that be? We have the best doctor, we have the best nurse, the best technology, the best science, the best of everything, but yet we're not healthy. How can that be? We could be giving all the drugs, away for free and all the surgery, and we'd still not be any healthier. Do you follow me? Right? So this is a big deal right here. And I want you to look at the hand. It's in bright red. Yes? It's in bright red. This next one here, it says where obesity places the biggest burden on healthcare. Check this out. In the US, we seem to be winning. We're winning, right? Maybe not for the good reason, but we are winning. There's no doubt about it, right? So here it says what contributes to this toxic load and excess weight. So the stuff that they put, the chemicals they put in our food, so it makes it taste good. It's always amazing to me. There's and you don't need to tell me that. If it's you don't need to tell me. You don't need to raise your hand, right? People are like, well, vegetables, Dr. Jean-Guy, they just don't taste good. Water doesn't taste good, Dr. Jean-Guy. I'm like, well, I didn't know that the water tasted anything. Think about that for a minute. When real food don't taste good to you, that means that you've been completely taken over by the dark side, for sure. Right? You have, for sure. And people just don't realize that. Because what happens is when you eat fast food stuff every single day of your life, or you eat stuff that has a label on it with a bunch of chemical, they are designed to desensitize your taste bud. That's what they're designed for. Right? So you have no chance. You do have a chance, but you have to be hanging out with the right people. So here it says the toxins that affect our health. So then as a result of that, people are going to have weight gain, food craving, fatigue, difficulty sleeping, digestion problem, gastrointestinal problem, right? Hormonal dysfunction, PMS, reduced mental clarity. So if you have problems with focus, concentration, attention, that's a big problem. Because when people have focus, attention, concentration problem, that means that you have this pro-inflammatory, You know, you have those pro-inflammatory chemical in your body. It's like putting gas in the fire all day long, every day, right? And as a result of that, it fries your brain. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm just getting just a little bit older, right? I mean, just a little bit. I mean, none of you here, but, you know, I'm getting a little bit older. And what I do see and what people don't like and what people don't want, and you tell me if I'm wrong, is people don't like the idea of having early dementia, neurodegenerative disease like Parkinson or Alzheimer. Do we see more of those today? Yes or yes?
Yes.
The answer is yes. Sharon said it, right? There's 100%. Every turn that you have here, you see people that are just breaking down, and they're breaking down mentally. Who does not want to break down mentally? Nobody wants that, right? Nobody wants that. So it says, how does your body remove toxins? Number one is your lymphatic system will do that. Your blood, your skin, your kidneys, your lungs, your colon, and your liver. So let me just tell you a little bit about that. Sometimes people do cleanse, and they do cleanse to target this one thing. And I want you to know ahead of time that Dr. Daigneault is not a fan of that. So when people are like, well, I'm doing a liver cleanse. And I'm like, well, why in the world would you do that? That's silly. I want you to think of that for a minute, right? If you start cleansing your liver and your liver dumps into the gastrointestinal tract and there's nothing to clean the gastrointestinal tract, what is that going to do? Right? The toxin is going to recirculate and it's just going to make you worse. You see what I'm saying? So if you're looking at detoxifying the body, you don't want to detoxify one thing. You want to detoxify the body as a whole. You see what I'm saying? Are you tracking with me? Don't fall asleep on me. This is not going to be long, and I'm going to have you do push-ups. Okay? So when we're detoxifying, you're looking at doing multiple areas at the same time, because what you're doing is now you're going to get the full benefit of truly what detoxification does. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
So this thing here, there's this organ called the liver, right? And the liver is, yes, the liver is doing that too. Right? The liver does this thing. Now listen to me here. This is really important. The liver is a very important organ. There's over 600 different functions to the liver. And if the liver doesn't work properly, which in most American it doesn't, and especially post-COVID, there's a lot of people that have liver problem. This idea of having fatty liver, it's very common in people, even in people that don't drink. And most people don't know that. Because what happens is when you eat cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, bread, rice, and pasta, and you have a bunch of sugar into your body, what's going to happen is you're going to start loading up the fat into your liver. And it's going to happen 100% of the time. Do you follow me?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this phase 1 and phase 2 liver detoxification, if it doesn't work properly, what happens is the toxin is going to back up into your system. And when the toxin backs up into your system, then what happens is that your joint's going to start getting stiff. And then you're going to be tired all the time. And then you're not going to sleep well. And you're going to wake up in the morning and you're going to be like this. And you're going to be like, I feel old. Right? And you're like, well, I'm not that old, but I feel really old. So when the liver doesn't work properly, it's very, very common that, people have big time problems. A lot of different problems. They'll have problems with sugar. You have problems with blood pressure. Because all sugar metabolism, this is all like it's happening all into your liver. So that becomes really important that this liver is functioning properly, and you have different phase of detoxification. Not that you need to know all of this, but what I tell you is this is really important to make sure that this is happening properly 100%. And if it doesn't, you're in trouble. I had this guy that was a PhD in Michigan State that was doing studies on chemicals. So companies would hire him, and he would be like, okay, I want you to tell me the level of those chemicals that needs to be in order for this to become toxic to the liver. And most of those studies would last about 6 months, and then he would get a number, give it back to them so they could be presented to the government, so they could pass those new chemicals through, whatever they need to pass them through so they can start using them. But here's what he said to me, and this was really profound, right? He said, Jean-Guy, he's like, listen, when I study those chemicals, and they're using different pathways into the liver, what they don't do is they never study multiple chemicals that uses those same pathways. Do you see what I'm saying? That if you have multiple chemicals at the same time in your body, right, that you're like, hey, you can have X amount of MSG. It's not a big deal, just a little bit. What about if you have MSG the same day as you have Splenda, the same day as you have aspartame, the same day as you have all those other chemicals all at the same time, and your body uses the same organ to detoxify them, but yet it's all clogged up there, right? The pipes are all clogged up. You see what I'm saying? So that becomes really important, and most people don't, there is no studies that they study multiple chemicals at the same time. So, this is leading me to this 21-day program, and I just want to, now I'm going to share with you what the program does. I can answer questions as we go. I'm going to tell you what the program does, why do we use it, why do I like it, and then it's probably not for everybody. Maybe you're not ready for it, right? Maybe some of you need other things before that. I don't know. But I know that I've done this over 1,000 times now in the past 20 years, so I'm well versed in it. And Father here is just ready to do it. I can see it in his face. Those two right here, they're just ready to give it a go. Maybe we can get some testimony of people that have done it, because I know many of you here have done it already. So here it says the 21-day program will provide guideline for healthy habit. So there's no calorie restriction. This is important. People always ask me, they're like, am I going to starve? Well, I mean, I guess if vegetables are starving, I mean, if you don't eat them, I guess you could starve, right? But there's no calorie restriction. You can eat as much as you want. It says organically grown whole food supplements that supports your body's natural effort to remove the toxins. And we'll talk to you about which one are those and what they do, what's the purpose of them. So the first thing the question that is being asked is there's a book. And Brandy can give you the book to any one of you here tonight if you want the book. And you can follow the book. The book is what you're supposed to be eating. And there's always a question that comes up over the years. People are like, well, can I just eat the food? And I'm like, yeah, you can. You're likely not going to get as much if you just eat the food, but can you do that? Yeah. Why is that? Because you start eating more food. And when people don't eat food and you start eating more food, are you going to gain health when you do that? Yes or yes?
Yes.
The answer is yes, right? That was not a trick question. If you eat more food, you're going to be healthier. So could you just eat the food? Yeah. Is it going to be as effective as if you do, the entire program the way it was designed? The answer is no. So here's the reason why. Number one is you're going to have some couple shakes a day. It's called SP Complete. And when you have the shakes in there, there's things like, right? There's things like barley, buckwheat, flax, alfalfa. You know all the stuff that you guys have every day, right? I'm just kidding. Of course, people don't have that. For most people. So what happened is in this bucket here, it usually looks bad, it tastes bad, it smells bad, but it's good for you, right? So this is like you have 2 shakes a day, you can have up to 3, and all of this stuff is in there. Now I want to tell you a little bit about standard process, because some of you are like, well, why do you like those guys? Well, Dr. Daigneault, remember I told you I like about farming, right? All of you here could have your little organic farm, maybe like 5x5 or 10x10 if the deer don't come and eat everything that you have in there. But at the standard process farm, they have like 1,000 acres of organic farming. And this has been around since 1929, right? Dr. Lee was like a fan of food. He understood that, farming was really important. He understood about the soil, he understood about the water, he understood about the sunshine. He understood about all of that, right? So since 1929, this farm's been organic. So the nutrients that are in there that are coming out of this farm are just like out of this world. So any of those standard processed food supplements, there is no fillers. There's nothing that's going to make it look good, smell good, taste good. Now Chuck was right. He's like, I just don't like it, right? Now, fortunately, you don't have to do it straight, right? When you do this, when you make one of those shakes in the book there, you have like 50 different recipes that you can put stuff in there. And you wouldn't even know, like, this is going to dissipate, we can make it palatable. You follow me? Mm-hmm. So far, so good, right? So here we go. And then you have an option. I'm just going to tease you now. I'm just going to say a couple words. I'm just going to tease you. I'm not serious. This is for, the weaker people here in the group. There's an option for vanilla and chocolate. Now they use stevia, right, as a sweetener. If you have problems with stevia, then you won't do fine with that. You follow me? They have vanilla and chocolate. Okay. Then after that, you're going to do this thing here. This is called SP Cleanse. SP Cleanse, you're going to take 7 of those capsules. You do that 3 times a day. Now, some of you, if you've never taken nothing before, right? You're just like, you're sitting in your chair right now. And you're like, oh my goodness, how am I going to do that? 21 capsules a day. I'm going to die. Well, fortunately for you, you can open them up, just put them in the shake. You don't even have to swallow them, right? You can put them in the shake. 7, 3 times a day, it's 21 per day. And you do that for the first 7 days. And it's all in the book. It just tells you step by step. It's like, it's simple. It's in the book. The book is right here, right? You don't have to take any notes. I'm just telling you how that works. Now, the purpose of SP Cleanse is the first 10 days is we're going to clean you, right? We're going to cleanse the body. So what does that mean is you're going to be doing fruits and vegetables, and you'll do that for the first 10 days. And for the first 10 days, 7 days, you're going to do this SP Cleanse. And this will optimize phase 1, phase 2 liver detox. It's going to optimize kidney function. It's going to optimize, lung detoxification. And after you're done with the first 10 days, then you're going to just jump into the next part, which is the rebuilding part. So there's a cleansing part, and then there's a rebuilding part. There's a method to the madness. Do you follow me?
Yes.
Right? Before we can rebuild, we need to cleanse. I'm going to give you a bad chiropractic jokes, right? People come to me. They're like, Dr. Jean-Guy, can I just be on a proactive care? I'm like, you haven't fixed anything. How can you be on proactive? Do you see how this is like? It just doesn't like, how can you be on a proactive nutrition program when you haven't fixed anything? Okay, if you're toxic, that's the first thing that's going to be done. You follow me? Say yes.
Yes.
Don't fall asleep on me or we're almost done. I mean, not really. Okay. Remember, I'm not mad. I'm just like getting warmed up. The second part of the program, you're going to do this thing called SP Green Food. And then in there's some Brussels sprout, kale, buckwheat, barley juice, alfalfa, all the stuff you have every day. Yes.
Yes.
And then you're going to do 5 of those twice a day. And then you'll do this for the remaining of the program. From day 8 on, this is what you're going to be doing. So the first part is we cleanse. The second part, we're going to rebuild. You follow me? Right? Then after that, here you're going to have this thing. It's called gastrofiber. And there's also another option. This option here is you just put it in your shake. This option here, it's in a capsule. So now the purpose of that is we want to make sure if we're detoxifying the liver and the gallbladder, you got to make sure that the bowels are working properly. Understood?
Yes.
Right? It's a no-brainer. They work together. You cannot be on this program if you're not pooping. Do you understand that? You don't need to raise your hand right now, but you have to be pooping. You have to be pooping, more than once a day. If you're not pooping, this is the first thing that's got to be fixed. Understood? You cannot do this program if you're not pooping. You got to talk to me. You have to poop. If the toxins are not coming out, you're just re-intoxicating yourself. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay. So this is going to be done all the way from the time you start until the end for all 21 days, right? It's a 21-day program. The first 7 days, you're going to do the SP Cleanse. Then you're going to switch over to the SP Green. It's all in the book. You don't need to write anything down. And then here you do this on a daily basis with your shake, right? In your shake, you can put some fruits in there, right? You can put some frozen fruits in there. You can put some vegetables in there, right? Chuck doesn't like vegetables. You just put vegetables in your shake. You won't even taste them. And then you have a little, SP Complete Vanilla, and then here you go. Now it's tasting good and you're ready to go. Well, I got ahead of myself here. I want to show you this here before we go any further. I want to show you about this person. This is, I don't want to show you about this person. Some of you are going to be like, it's too hard. Okay. So here it says the journey begin. It says the first 10 days you're going to have as much fruits and vegetables as you want. And then especially the goal here is to try to do 2 to 1 between the fruits and the vegetables. Right? If your goal here is some of you here, your goal is you want to lose as much weight as you can, right? The goal is to do at least twice as many vegetables as you do fruit. And then I can give you this list. This is not in the book. Some of you here, you don't really need to lose weight, and you're like, oh, am I gonna just disappear if I do this cleanse and I don't really need to lose weight? You will not disappear. If you need to lose weight, you will lose weight. If you don't need to lose weight, then you won't. You're just gonna detoxify, understood? Right? So let's pretend that you would like to lose weight. You wanna do twice as many vegetables as you do fruit. And then the fruit that you are using, I have a sheet with the amount of fructose in the fruit, and you wanna be picking the top of the list. So usually the berries, they have less fructose. Understood? Right? Some of you here, you're like, didn't understood what you said, but that's okay, right? We can circle back to that. But those of you that wants to lose weight, my brother just finished a 21-day cleanse, and he lost 21 pounds in 21 days, right? So some people lose 5 pounds, some people lose 20 pounds. I always tell people, I'm like, hey, if you don't need to lose weight, you're not gonna lose weight. If you need to lose weight, you will lose weight. And there's ways that you can do more if you choose to. You just gotta tweak the program a little bit. Understood?
Mhm.
But the primary goal here is to get rid of the toxin. Here's the reason why. Because if you have some fat cells, this is how your body was designed to work. Your body is trying to protect you. And how does the body will do that? Your body uses the fat cells to store the toxins. So maybe some of you here, you've been on weight loss program before, and you're like, oh, I lose the first like 10 pounds and then I get stuck. The reason why you get stuck is because when those fat cells are loaded with toxins, you will never going to be able to lose weight more than 10 pounds. And if you lose 10 pounds, it's likely you're only going to lose water. It's not really going to be fat. So that becomes really important. If one of your goals is to lose weight and you really want to lose fat, if your body doesn't let go of the toxins, you're not going to be able to lose fat. Understood?
Understood.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Your body is really smart, in case you did not know. Okay? So the first 10 days, fruits and vegetables, then you can have lentils. Some of you don't know what that is. We can circle back to that later. Right? And then you can have rice. You can have brown rice and wild rice. Wild rice comes from grass. You can have water, spring water. Spring water has minerals in it, right? And then it says having some high quality oils. So you're staying away from vegetable oil, because vegetable oil, they've been processed. They're not good for you. So you can have coconut oil, you can have avocado oil, you can have olive oil. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Then it says you can exercise. You don't have to, but you should. If you exercise, you're going to increase blood flow. If you increase blood flow, you're going to do what? That's right. You're going to get rid of the toxins, right? So just going for a walk is, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, going to do some benefit. On day 11 through 21, you're going to do the same thing as above, but now what you're going to do is you're going to add some clean protein. What is clean protein? Well, you're going to have some grass-fed beef. You're going to have some wild-caught fish. You're going to have some chickens that's been out and about, not in a coop where it's this big and there's 1,000 of them, right? We're trying to stay away from that, yes?
Yeah.
So we want to have some clean protein. That's what we do from day 11 to 21. You just add some protein. The first 10 days, there is no animal protein. Understood?
Yes.
There's 5 things this program, it's not on. Well, I guess it's going to be on the next slide. Let's go through that. What you're not going to have is you're going to stay away from margarine, from any kind of corn oil, vegetable oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil. Any of those processed oil we want to stay away from. I'm going to give you a hint. You will not find anything that will be okay on the cleanse when you go to the fast food restaurant. Just so you know. If you are just wondering, can I just wing it? There is no fast food restaurant in this country that you can wing this cleanse, being approved. It's not going to happen, because that's the type of oil that they're using to make their food, or their resemblance of food. Yes? No trans fat, no hydrogenated oil. The goal is to stay away from caffeine and alcohol. Let me talk about this here for a minute. Now, some of you here might be like, oh, I'm going to die, right? This coffee thing, this is my essential nutrient. I can't live if I don't have it. So I want to give you a little insight. You don't have to be perfect to do the cleanse, just so you know. You just have to be ready to just move in the right direction. If the worst sin that you're committing on this cleanse is to have caffeine, you know what? God bless you. Just keep at it. Just keep moving forward. The reality of it is you're going to get the best results when, like, the more of those things that you can just cut out for 21 days, you know, the more that you're just, you know, speeding up this journey. You follow me? But you don't have to be perfect. I'm not sure about alcohol. I mean, I think this, you should stay away from that completely, for sure, right? Hopefully, all of you had your fill of that in the past 27 parties the past month, right? I mean, it can be done now. We're ready to move on. It's going to be a dry January. Then after that, it says soft drink for the obvious reason. Nuts, beans, dairy, grains. So the top 5 things that are just like the most inflammatory in the body is you have soy, corn, wheat, dairy, and eggs. So on this program is you don't have that. Why don't you have nuts? Because nuts are dirty. Because aflatoxins grow on nuts, right? And what happens is when you just put them in and they have, you know, aflatoxins that are growing on them and mold, you're just putting that into your body. It defeats the purpose of trying to clean you out. Understood? Okay, so next here it says you're going to stay away from processed or refined food. Remember, there is no fast food restaurant in the United States of America that are approved for this cleanse. Understood? I'm not going to name names. So then it says dry canned vegetables and fruit. And then it says cure, smoke, or luncheon meat. So let me just do a side note here about perfection. I mean, some of you here, if you've been used to go to the fast food restaurant every day, I mean, maybe canned food might be an upgrade, okay, on this cleanse. I want you to understand this here. There's the things that's going to be like, can you still do the cleanse if you don't do it perfectly? The answer is yes, right? And you're going to be much better off when you're done than when you started. So here it says, when in doubt, you try to avoid it if it's not listed, or when we leave here tonight, many of you here already have my phone number, but I'm going to give you my cell phone number, and you can put me in your phone. It says under Dr. Jean-Guy's contact, and you can just text me. Right? If I don't know, I'll just tell you I don't know, but I've done this for 20 years. I'm well versed in it, and I have no problem helping you out to get through it. Understood? Okay, so we go to the next thing. Here it says, what can you expect? Well, there's a lot of things, right? People are concerned about, like, I'm not sure if anybody wants to detoxify, but when I tell people, I'm like, well, you might be losing weight, then they're like, okay, I'm listening. You might be getting your head back, right? If you have, like, if people that have, like, they're in fog all the time and they can't sleep, I guarantee you what happened on the cleanse is the first 3 days, you feel a little bit sluggish, because when you start detoxing, I mean, my wife, is she gone now? She's gone? Okay. So when she first did the cleanse the first time, she was in bed for 3 days. I mean, it was like, this was 20 plus years ago, migraine headaches. I mean, she was just a little bit addicted to caffeine. I mean, just a little bit. And so she did not do well for 3 days. But after you get those first 3 days, right, what's going to happen is you're going to have this euphoria of energy that's going to come out, that you're going to come out of the gate, and it's going to be incredible. People will text me like 11 o'clock at night. They'll be like, I'm looking for a second job. I mean, right? Even if they don't work, they just want to go to work now. I mean, literally, it's just like, if you do this properly, it's a game changer. And you don't believe me, you're going to have to do it. Because I'm telling you, it happens every time. If it's done properly, if it's done the way it should be done. So more energy, weight loss, your digestive system is going to work better. Why is it going to work better? When people have indigestion, when people have heartburn, when people are bloated, those are all signs that what you're putting in is pro-inflammatory, right? So people don't get bloated for no reason. People are not constipated for no reason. People don't have indigestion for no reason. It's because what we're putting in, right, it's pro-inflammatory. All day long, doing this for a long time, people say, well, Dr. Jean-Guy, when I fast, I feel so much better. I'm like, oh, I wonder why. Right? Your body is trying to tell you something. It says, hey, I don't like what you're doing to me. It's just talking to you, right? So here it says reduce joints and muscle pain, and then your skin's going to clear up. This is like huge. I want you to know tonight, this is really important. In America right now, those dermatologists, they're just so busy. They're really, really busy. Everybody's got skin problem. Skin is never the skin. It's the inside problem. People don't have a skin problem. They have an inside problem. Your skin is the largest organ in your body. And when the inside is not happy, the body will just use the skin to push the stuff out. 100% of the time. right? 100% of the time. So I want you to know that. That's really important. You don't like your skin? I want you to be thinking, okay, my skin is not the problem. It's the inside, right? The inside is always the problem. This next one here, this is Randy's testimonial. It says lost 9 to 11 pounds every time I've done it, which is actually not the intent of this program. It says the program eliminates a lot of those body toxins. The number one things I've done for me is to eliminate my blood pressure medicine. Now this is kind of interesting. If people take drugs, people always ask me the question. Now listen, some of your question of you're sitting here tonight, you're like, yeah, but I'm taking this prescription medication. Can I still do that? And the answer is yes. It doesn't matter which prescription medication you take, you can still, anybody can do the cleanse. However, let's just use common sense for a minute. If you're becoming healthier, could that be possible your blood pressure will go down? Could that be possible?
Yes.
Okay, so if you're taking a blood pressure pill, maybe you should check your blood pressure. Yes?
Yes.
Could that be possible that if you start eating better, maybe your blood sugar is going to go down? Could that be possible?
Yes.
Would that be wise that if you're diabetic, maybe you start checking your blood sugar? Yes or yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Right? So if you're taking medication for chronic illnesses, you need to be like aware of that. As you're becoming healthier, maybe you don't need as much, maybe you won't need it at all. I've seen people, and I'm going to show you lab tests right now, that people's cholesterol have dropped down in 21 days, like 100 points, just like that. When your cholesterol is high, you don't have a life sentence. The cholesterol is high because of what? Your body is just trying to adapt to the environment. If there's inflammation, I guarantee you the cholesterol is going to be high 100% of the time. Okay, Randy, we have enough of you. Oh, here we go. April 9th, cholesterol 344. This is May 7th, 182. Right? This thing here, it's called the triglyceride. Triglyceride, some of you have heard this before. It's called the crapometer. If your triglycerides are high, that means that you're just eating candies in a closet. That's what it means. It doesn't matter who you are, 100% of the time. When people look at me straight in the eyes, say, Dr. Jean-Guy, my triglycerides are high, but I don't know why. And I'm like, oh, do you like sweets? No, I don't eat any of that. Oh, okay. Triglyceride, you can write down next to them, crapometer. 100%. You eat a lot of crap, the triglyceride is going to be up 100% of the time. So this cholesterol business, this can change really quickly. Just so you know, it doesn't matter who you are, it's going to happen 100% of the time, right? Medical book, listen to me here for a minute. Medical book, 1984, normal cholesterol was 334, right? 334. Today, we would like to have you like below 100, maybe 50 would be good, right? I mean, let's just drive it down to the floor just to make sure you don't have enough hormones. If you don't have enough, if you don't have enough fat, then you cannot make hormones. And if you cannot make hormones, then you go cuckoo. Who wants that? Anybody wants to go cuckoo, right? When you lost your mind, I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't have good fat, you're going to be losing your mind. You need to have good fat. You need to have it every day, right? This butter should be dripping all over your face. Yes? It should. I know some of you have been told, you're like, oh, I eat butter, I'm going to have heart disease. No, what's causing heart disease is when you eat cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, right? And then you go to the fast food restaurant every day. I mean, that's what people do. They're like, well, Dr. Jean, yeah, just do it with moderation. I'm like, what does that mean? Like once a day? That's what people do, right? What does moderation mean? If you have no chronic illnesses, moderation might be like, I don't know, maybe once a month. What does moderation mean? Think about that for a minute. If any one of you here, you have chronic illnesses, moderation means 0. If you want to turn this ship around, you got to have 0. Otherwise, you're still going in the same direction. Just remember, I'm not mad at you yet. I mean, I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you the truth, right? I deal with patients every day, all day. Like, we want to go after the cause. What's causing the problem? People they can turn around this ship like really quickly if you do the right thing, right? Now, doing the right thing doesn't mean you need to be perfect. So here it says you want to be successful, you got to plan ahead. Just make sure that you just get rid of the crap at home. It helps, right? Have the food around that you need in order to be successful. Helena, myself, our front desk, Brandy, all the people here in this office, the vast majority of us, unless they're new here with us, They might not have done the cleanse, but the rest of us, we've done it many times, like dozens of times. So we're well versed with it. Massages can help because it will help to the lymphatic system. Sauna or foot bath's going to help. Drinking plenty of water, exercising, all of those things. It just promotes the detoxification process. Understood? It's pretty common stuff. You should just get out there and go for a walk. Now, even if you're not detoxifying, you should still do that. Going out there for a walk is good for everybody. Yes? Can you say everybody?
Everybody.
Everybody. If you just decided to exercise in 2025 and you just like did not do anything in 2024, just put your running shoes on and go to bed with it, right? Just go to bed with your shoes on. I mean, that's going to be your first step. Let's just get moving a little bit at a time, right? I mean, baby step. Hydrates, think positive, right? You can do it. Your health is your wealth. Okay, so here, what do we have? It says, standard process, it's in the book there, but if you go to the website, on the website under product, you can go under purification program, and then they have like, you know, hundreds of ideas for shakes, for meals, for, Dr. Jean-Guy is very plain, like 2 shakes a day. I just put this stuff in a bottle, just shake it and just go, and then we're done with it. Usually at home, I'm gonna do like a stir fry at home. You know, at night when I get home, do a stir fry. You know, my little treats is I do those little sweet potato. We just slice them, put some coconut oil on them, put some sea salt on them, right? You can make some, you can have those kale chips. Put them, you just bake them, put some sea salt on them, and you just put some coconut oil. You can take the coconut oil and just go straight in your mouth. Tablespoon of them, yes?
Yes.
This lady, she's looking at me, she's like, you're crazy. That's okay. I mean, I'm just telling you what I've done. You don't have to do what I do. But what I say to you is it can be very simple. If you come in my office right now, I have a bag and it's just like the stuff is in there. Just dump all this stuff in, just shake it. And I'm like, we're done, right? It can be simple, but it can also be more like, some of you might be like, oh, I want to make some lentil soup. I'm like, well, go for it. Bring me some, right? Some of you might be like, oh, I want to do those fancy like meal. I'm like, well, good. Let's make sure I have some too, right? I mean, I'll be more than happy to eat your stuff. But we just try to keep this really simple at our house, right? So some of you here might be like, I like to cook and I want to do everything that is in the book. Some of you might be like, don't want to do any of that. I just want to get through it. So when I go to the health food store, to Whole Food, to right here down the road, I buy those vegetables and I just eat them raw, right? I mean, here's the pepper and here's the lettuce and here's like, you just eat them raw. You see what I'm saying? So there's no such thing as like, oh, I don't think I can do it. Anybody can do it. Can you say anybody? Anybody can do it. It doesn't matter who you are, if you want to. You don't have to, but if you want to, you can do it. Okay. So when I went on the website, and it's in your book, under products, you go to purification program, you click on that, and then it gives you like 5,000 ideas. For me, it's just my mind is swirling. It's too much, right? It's just like there's too much things. If you have a lot of time, then you can just go on it and just go at it. But in my life, I just like try to keep simple. So I just eat a lot of raw things during that process. And that's, here we go, right? If you're hungry, that means that likely you probably don't eat enough fat. When people are hungry, it's because you don't eat enough fat. When you eat fat circle back to your brain. There's a negative feedback loop that tells your brain that you're full. So when people are hungry, because they don't eat enough fat. So I want you to keep that in mind. Number 1, on this cleanse here, you can eat as much as you want. I'm just telling you that most of the time when people are hungry, it's because they don't eat enough fat. Fat is really important. Fat's going to keep you skinny. I know it's counter like in your brain, you just don't understand that. But the more fat you eat, the better you are, because your body will use fat for fuel instead of using sugar, right? When you keep eating cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, bread, rice, and pasta, then your body just like, it's only one mode of fueling, is having this sugar constantly, right? The reason why people eat a lot of sugar constantly, number 1, is you've been like, I'm not sure what the word is, but you know, the dark side just took over. And now they got you, right? And you feel like this is what you need to have every day. So, but that can be turned around if you choose to, right? So this is how you can get some more information. I want you to write this down here or take a picture of this with your phone. I mean, if you if you don't care about, I mean, you don't, might not want to have my number, but some of you already have my number. You should be putting my phone number in your phone. And then under Dr. Jean-Guy's contact, make sure it's away from the office phone, okay? When you take a picture, it's gotta be away from the office phone in your contact. Because if you were to get a confirmation call from her office and you're trying to reach me, people do that on a regular basis. They're like, Dr. Jean-Guy, you did not text me back. Well, the only reason why I wouldn't text you back is because you texted the office. Unbeknown to you. You cannot have our office number and my phone number in the same contact. They gotta be in different contact. Now, if some of you here see Elena, this is Elena's phone number. This is her email address. Well, I guess she doesn't have her phone number there. But if you send me a text, I can give you her cell phone number, right? The best way to reach me is to text me. And then you, for sure, 100%, you'll get a text back today, right? Today. I do sleep between 10 and 4. Otherwise, I answer your text 100% of the time. Yes?
Yes,
Anybody here that knows me? Is that the truth?
yes.
Okay, so here we go. I got some testimony. So you want to make sure that you have that. I wanted to go over the book, but I don't want to put you to sleep. There is a book here. I'd like to answer some questions instead of going over the book, but there's a book I just want to show you. Oh, this is not the book. This is a different book. It's a different book. Not sure if I can make this happen. Oh, here's a book. So there's a book here. It's called Standard Purification Program. This is a PDF file. Oh, technology. I lost my book. Anyway, there's a book here. It's called the Purification Program book. It's right on the Standard Process website. And it gives you countless numbers of ideas for food and to make it really, really complicated. I'm just kidding. Now, if you have time, you know, it's like, it just teaches you about different colors of food and the different types of food, how to cook it, all this good stuff. Understood? So, this being said, some of you here might be having some question. I'd like to answer your question. Some of you might be thinking, you're like, oh, Dr. Jean-Guy, if I do this here, you know, how much is that going to cost me? That's a fair question. I'm about to tell you that. And I want you to be thinking, like, if you have some question, I'd like some of you are doing it right now as we speak. Some of you have an intention to do it. And some of you, you don't know if you're going to do it. And some of you, you're like, it's definitely for sure I'm not going to do it. And that's okay, right? But I want to answer your question before you go. One of the things that I want to tell you, though, is tonight, if you decide that, you know, usually the cleanse is somewhere in the neighborhood between $250 to $280, depending what you pick. If you pick the chocolate version is twice as much, just so you know. Right? I mean, some of you, I mean, if you're just frugal with your money, you should just suck it up. And so you have the chocolate, the vanilla, and then here we have this thing called the SP Complete. The SP Complete, they all have the same nutrient in it. The only difference is one has a sweetener and they use stevia to do that, either chocolate or vanilla. Understood? Mm-hmm. It's somewhere in the neighborhood between $250 to $280, depending on the kit that you have. If you're doing it as a couple, husband and wife, there's some of the product that you might not need if you do it together. One thing that you're not gonna need as much of. So that's also an option. And then tonight, if you decide to do that, there's a couple things that's going to happen. Number one is you'll have, I think we're decided, Brandy and I, that you'll have 20% off on the kit where you have all the stuff and you can take it home. We're also going to give you those shakers, right? We have shakers for them. We're going to give you some shakers. So if you're just like me and you want to make things happen quickly and you don't want to do too much cooking and you just want to on the go, we're going to give you those shakers. Understood? 20% off, you know, you do the math, somewhere in the neighborhood of $50 off when you decide to do this. And you can do this we're doing this tonight Brandy's gonna be like your gal to go to the front desk here and you just grab it and leave and get going. Then you have my cell phone number, you can reach me out, you can reach out to me anytime. Understood?
Mhm.
Can you say big yes?
Yes.
Okay, so now I wanna answer some questions, because some of you are sitting there, you're like, he didn't answer my question, so tell me about the questions. We're gonna start with this lady in the back. What's your name?
Tricia,
Tricia, go ahead.
3 questions.
3 questions.
Yes,
I mean, you have a limit, it's 1. I'm just kidding.
first one, did you take your, like, you said you could take your drugs if you're on drugs, but if you're taking other supplements, just keep taking them?
Yeah, you can take your supplements. If you work with Helena or myself, if you don't work with Helena or myself, usually for the people that I work with nutritionally, sometimes, let's say for instance, a person take, some of you might not have any idea what I'm talking about here, but if you take Spanish black radish, Spanish black radish is already in the program, so I would have the person not take that.
Okay. Second question, on the list it says spring water.
Yeah.
What source do you recommend for water? Because most water comes in plastic bottles to get spring water.
Yeah, there's spring water in glass jar.
Okay.
If you go right here at Better Health, they have glass jar spring water. I mean, anything that, the goal is to have clean water. I would say that that's what's most important. If you have a system at home, it's reverse osmosis. Well, reverse osmosis or distilled water is mainly just like dead water. Yes, it's only just water. You follow me?
Yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with that. However, the goal is to optimize the minerals that are coming into the body. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Right? So the ideal would be in a glass jar having spring water.
Okay. Third question.
You're done after that, right?
Okay. Done. I saw on your first slide, the protein powder looks like it's whey. There's whey in it.
You were paying way too much attention. No, we don't have any whey. So in this one here, this SP Complete there is dairy free, so there's no whey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because on the list, that was the first.
Yeah, there is one. It's called SP Complete. There's SP Complete. There's SP Complete dairy free. So there is a dairy free option.
I'm done.
Okay, I did it. Who else has a question? Yes,
What
sir.
happens at the end of 21 days?
What happened?
I mean, you've had 340 days of bad habits, and now you've got this good habit started, but I mean, then, there's some of this. are some of
Father
these
here
things
is
required?
like you've been like doing debauchery for 340 days. And what do you do after those 21 days? That's a great question.
Life is life.
Yeah. So in the book, post 21 days, it's gonna bring you back into the world, into the real world of reintroducing you to food, right? So some people after their 21 days, I mean, oftentimes people will say to me, Dr. Randy, there's a lot of things I'm just gonna continue doing. Some people continue to do the shake long term, right? I mean, all year round they will start doing shakes. So some of you here might be going back to your coffee and you stop for 21 days. And then I had a pastor here that when he was like drinking 3 pots of coffee a day, like per day. I'm not sure how your adrenals can make it, but post cleanse, right? To this day, this happened 8 years ago. To this day, the most that he will have on any given day is only 3 cups of coffee, right after having 3 pots a day. So things gonna change. Your taste buds gonna change. A lot of things gonna change to the extent in which that you're gonna follow the program. But I want to reassure you that any one of you here tonight, right? If your goal here is to work on your health, you don't have to be perfect to do this program. You just have to start somewhere. And there's 2 things. Can you say 2 things?
Two things.
There's 2 things that I have found that people will succeed. They will do better when they have those 2 things in their back pocket. Are you ready? Make sure you don't forget. Number 1, I told my friend right here, right this morning. I told Sean this morning, I said 2 things. Number 1 is to, what is your why? What is your why? Right? If your why is not big enough, likely you're going to quit. You're going to find your way out really quickly because you'll be like, I don't want to do this. Right? Your why has to be big enough. Some of you here, your why might be like, hey, listen, I realize that my health is going down and really fast and I need to do something. Because I like to play with my kids, with my grandkids, and right now it's not happening. Some of you here might be like, hey, you know what? I want to be here with my spouse, Because I can see that right now my spouse is running circle around me. Some of you here have kids, grandkids, and you like to be able to spend time with them. I mean, I don't know what your why is, but I'm going to tell you right now that if your why is not big enough, it's not going to happen. Not just as it relates to the clans, as it relates to anything. And then number two, what I told Sean this morning is I'm like, you got to have an accountability partner. Who is your accountability partner? If you tell somebody tomorrow morning you're going to go work out and you wake up tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock, you're like, I don't really feel like it. What are the chances that Bob would just drop the ball here? If he tells me he's going to be there, what are the chances when he wakes up, even if he doesn't feel like it, that he's not going to show? It's very unlikely. So in my experience here, I have limited experience in 25 years working with people, right? As it relates to a person's health, is like to have an accountability partner who's going to help you. Not somebody that's going to shame you, somebody that's going to help you to reach your goals, whatever goals that you have. So those two things, very important. I mean, it could be your spouse, it could be your friend, it could be, you got to have a why, and you got to have somebody that's going to keep you accountable. If nobody knows that you're doing the cleanse, nobody's going to keep you accountable, right? I mean, you can do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of everything, right? No big deal. So those two things here, to me, this is what's most important. If you want to succeed at any one of those things. I mean, I see that. I mean, this is like record for January 6th to have all those people here in the room tonight. So obviously, you guys, I don't think that if you didn't want to be healthier, you wouldn't be here. Would you agree?
Right.
So, I mean, maybe a few of you were just like, somebody twisted your arm to be here, right? You didn't really want to be here, but I would say the majority of you, I mean, you're here for a reason, right? So, any other question that I can answer?
I have a question. This program, the 21-day program for detoxifying, is tailored specifically for each one individually, or is it the standard?
No, this is like, it's tailored for anybody that wants to do a purification program. This is not a nutrition program that is tailored for a specific person. Anybody can do this program. If you want to have a nutrition program that is tailored specifically for you, we do that as well. Helena and myself, Helena, our other master nutritionist, and myself, we do that. This particular program, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, anybody can do it, right? Some people, they need to have a little tweak here and there depending on their situation, and I'm willing to work with any one of you if it's the case and you want to do it, then you want to make this happen for yourself. Who's the other person that had a question?
I would just like to hear from somebody who's doing it or has done it, just to hear what they think about
Yeah,
it.
if you had a bad experience, don't say anything.
I started it Saturday. This is my third time. The first time I did it, I had no symptoms. I dropped 11 pounds. The second time, I made the amazing lentil soup. I ate too much and I didn't lose any weight. I love it. It's great. I do figure competitions. So on that, when you do that, I mean, you're starved. This year, the best thing about it is you're never starved. You can eat as much as you want.
Chuck, pay attention to what she just said. Bob has a question right here.
I do. Doc, if you do this, you go on a 21-day program, why do you have to continually do it? How often, how do you know you have to go back and do it again?
So Bob's question is a fair question. People ask frequently, right? If I do this once, why do I need to do it again? And it's a pretty simple answer. It's like if you live on planet Earth and you continue to be exposed to bad air, drink bad water, eat bad food, it's going to be needed again. And the vast majority of people, when you do it, if you've never done this, you will need more than once to get the job done. And you will be able to tell the difference from time to time when you do it, how your level of health will change, right? When you've done it 6 times, 10 times, 12 times. So what I do tell people is that you should at least do it once a year. If you have some serious chronic illnesses, likely to do it, at least twice. Some people will do it the first year every 3 months, right? So there's no... Really, this can be done multiple times. But Bob's question is a good question. My answer to you is we live in a toxic world. And even the food that is supposed to be good is still not what it used to be, for sure. Right? When you look at food science, when they do studies on food science and they look at the nutrient in organic food, and you go on a span of 50 years, you have about half of the nutrient. From 50 years ago, the same organic apple, there's only 50% of the nutrient that used to be there. Think about that for a minute. Right? So there's a lot of things that have changed, and it's not going to stop changing, and it's not going to be for the better, for sure. Because we find ways to try to do things better, faster. There's more processing, there's more use of chemicals. And those chemicals you cannot even, like in the Lansing water, there's over 50 chemicals that you cannot smell or taste, but yet you're exposed to it every day. Right? So to answer Bob's questions, at least yearly. If you have chronic illnesses, probably more than once a year. Right? And then there's obviously many other things that can be done. Any other questions?
Does that whole tub do 21 days or does it do more than that?
Oh no, you're going to need more than one.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to need more than one because you put several scoops of that stuff per day, right? If you're using the SV Complete, the dairy free, you're going to use 2 scoops. You're going to do that 2 to 3 times a day. If you're using the the one that you really like to taste, this one here you're supposed to use 4 scoops for 1 shake versus this one is only 2 scoops. So, well, you'll need a couple tubs of that. Yeah. And then you can do that, some people will do that long term. I mean, you're not going to overdose yourself, number one, right? The purpose of this is for your body to have all the nutrient that it needs. When your body goes through this detoxification, process, it needs nutrient to do that. That's the reason why we're not starving people, right? Detoxifying is not a fast. It's not designed to starve you. It's designed to get the body to just get rid of the toxins. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Any other questions? Wow, okay. Good job. Good job, Dr. Jean-Guy. Okay. So Brandy is back there. If you decide to do the cleanse, you need to go back to the front desk, and then Brandy will pull this out for you, and she'll have all that you need. If you have more questions, you can ask me some question. I'm not going anywhere. And if you were shy to ask question, you can text me, and I can answer your question. Sharon? Yeah.
Excuse me. That's only my favorite one today. Couple 3 times. It's a good deal.
Yeah.
It is.
It's all about getting healthier.
Yeah. It worked. Take care, sir. See you.
So sorry.
Yeah, you get along with this guy. Really well. Yeah. Yes, he's a good guy. Father.